Hello, Rosen. Is it Rose England? I'm not sure how to say your name. But I think you're new here. I don't think I've seen you here before. Thank you for coming and joining in. I just want to do a little bit of a catch up because I owe my YouTube audience a little bit of something, seeing as I've not done any streams today or... Did I do anything yesterday? What was yesterday? Oh yeah, I was live a little bit yesterday because I was busking. I was live while I was busking yesterday. Oh, that's not really yesterday. So much has happened in this short amount of time, like so many things have changed. But the main thing that's happened is I was meeting with a business today, and I've been talking about meeting with this business for a while. They're a traditional bespoke tailoring place in Scotland that's been around for 130 years, which is very interesting. So to fill in anybody who's curious about this business and what's been going on, they are in a town. It's very new to me. Rossi, man, how are you then? How are you doing, Rossi? Rose England said it must have been hard in London. You miss me. Rossi, I've got an opportunity for you, by the way. I'd like you to hit me up on Instagram. I think I might have some clients for you. Yeah, I'm going a little bit more heavy on the event side of things. Sorry, Rose, there's somebody, so I'm live streaming to YouTube and Kick at the same time, and there's somebody called Rossi right now who's a pilot. He flies little planes, and he's Scottish, so that's who I was speaking to, not to Rose England. Someone in the YouTube chat going, "Excuse me, my name's Rose, not Rossi." Sorry, there's Rossi and there's Rose. Rossi is a guy. He's in Germany. He's Scottish. But yeah, tell me about it because I don't want to tell you more about it. But I'll talk just broadly about it right here. So basically, I've been trying to figure out what I really want to commit to for the next 5-10 years, because I realized I'm earning a decent enough amount of money from TikTok, and I'll be earning okay money from YouTube soon. And I can say, well, do I want to focus on growing the TikTok for the long term? And the answer to that's no. I can make 5 to 10k per month from it, but nothing life-changing. And honestly, it's only going to hurt my reputation the more I try and chase the TikTok. Like, if I wanted to be getting 5 to 10k on TikTok, all I need to do is just go tour through shitty countries where there's lots of people immigrating to the UK and play bagpipes on those places. I can earn 5 to 10k a month from doing that. But I've done a bit of that already. I've gone viral for that already. It's not that special. I mean, it's special, it's important. I could keep doing it, but it's not really doing a lot to save my culture. It's like getting my foot in the door. It's telling you, I'm here, I care about this, look at how silly this thing is, but it's not really changing something. So what I want to actually do is work with small Scottish businesses that are actually maintaining the culture and the tradition and help them, not financially, because I'm broke as fuck, right? I'm going to help them with my skills. I'm going to help them with basically do marketing. And my initial plan was, up until today, wow, so much has changed today. So I've done no work, so I've just been writing down plans and stuff and researching and reading books as well. I've been reading 2 books that just coincidentally happen to be by Jewish people. But so up until today, I was planning to find one singular business that was well established, which I could take the reins of, excel them with marketing, and take them to a great level. And this business I found today was really like that. But after speaking to them, and then later today, after reaching out to more traditional businesses, I realized a truth that I was quite ridiculously ignorant to. The thing I was being ignorant to was that being a traditional business who has survived for a long time and stayed small means, yes, you can grow to a high level, but you do not have a strong desire for that. So most of these businesses are very, very happy to stay small. Now that doesn't mean I can't make them big, because there's ways, for example, with the business today, if they were getting a huge amount of income from their online orders and they felt like there was stability from that was coming from my marketing, they'd be really happy with that. I could really help them out in that regard. But if I was to do that, they would inevitably be taking away competition from their competitors, who, guess what? A lot of them are also traditional crafts makers who have stayed independent and stayed small and stayed Scottish for a long time, but most of them haven't overreached their area, right? So this particular business hasn't overreached Dumfries and Galloway. Other ones haven't overreached their area, whether that's Fife or Edinburgh or Aberdeenshire, and they're staying within their bounds, which I really respect and kind of want to support, seeing as they don't have that desire to be greedy and take over things. So I've sort of shifted today a lot in one day. It's a big pivot, it feels like. But it is a time when I'm doing lots of thinking and lots of planning and not so much actually acting and making things. Because it's important I make these decisions now. So what I'm going to do is I've got two options I'm kind of toying between. And I think they're probably going to be simultaneous. Not simultaneous, but they're going to be intermittent, let's say. The way I almost always earn money, I've never earned money consistently from the same place for more than 3 months. I don't think I've earned, like, most of the time I earn lots of money. I work for a week or a few weeks, at the most about six to 9 weeks, and then I stop. I make loads of money and then I stop. So busking, you make a lot of money per hour, but it's only a part-time thing, right? So it's not a full-time job. I went to Australia. I was making like 5k a month in British pounds, so 10k a month in Australian dollars when I was there. And I worked for like 6 weeks in one job, 2 months in another job. And then I left. And that's probably going to be how things continue to be. I could try and fight that pattern, but the reality is I'm probably going to continue to earn money in chunks. Like how I used to earn big monies from a stock trade and then spend ages without doing any stock trading at all. And then find a great opportunity, put all my money behind it, make a bunch of money, and then do nothing for a long time. Now, I was only able to do that because I was dependent on my friend, who was incredibly financially literate, and I'm not very financially literate, so I'm not doing that anymore because I'm not speaking to him regularly at the moment. However, that does follow the same pattern where I was doing a one-off job for my family when I was younger, where I was making a singular film. You're working hard, never quit. You followed me since I was in Africa. Thank you very much, Mr. Zero. I appreciate it. But yeah, I'm just sort of filling in. So when I was younger, I'd do like a filmmaking job and make a bunch of money, and then go ages spending almost nothing because I just live with my parents and they spend their money on everything anyway. You know, I don't really need to spend much of my own money when I'm a child. And continually going on from there, I've had these short periods where I make lots of money. You're right, I work very hard, but I'm always working very hard, but I exchange between either working extremely hard to directly earn money now, or working hard for something that I expect to turn me profits in the future. Best to say small and independent life in this world is not about becoming super wealthy. But what I want to do is I want to work with lots of businesses. So, sorry, I took too long to get to this. But what I'm saying is I'm toying between two ideas. My two ideas are pretty straightforward, so they don't need to be very complicated. They're the primary businesses I want to build. On one side is the events. So this is an extension of something I absolutely already do. I already do events all the time. The only difference is I'm not arranging the events. I'm just going there and playing bagpipes. And this shifts things a little bit for me because it just means there's a little bit more involvement in organisation. Rather than saying, well, look, it's your son's birthday. I could play bagpipes for you and your son while you're golfing and give you a wonderful time, make a memorable experience. What I'm intending to do is collect a lot of the people I know that have a full range of different skills, because I know people with so many different skills, and just get them on the speed dial so that they're clocked in with what I'm doing, and then offer their services in conjunction with mine as premium events to tourists. So I meet lots of tourists when I'm busking. I go and stand on the street and play bagpipes, and they give me money in my case. And they often ask me what things I can do in Scotland, and I just tell them, oh, you know, the Highlands are nice, you know, you want to go to Glencoe and Ballochry, and, you know, if you can get over to Skye and Lewis, that's nice. No more. No more, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say, well, look, most people come to Scotland, and they go to this place, and they go to that place, and they see a bit of this, but they don't see the real authentic culture. And it's not because it's too expensive, it's not because it's too hard to get there, it's because they simply don't even know it really exists. The people who are spreading the real culture in Scotland, and this is true, the people who are spreading the real culture in Scotland have been continually oppressed by the English authorities that have the most power in this country. And I have access to those people. I have access to them. They are struggling in their careers. They're suffering with health issues. They're being punished by the world. And I can give access to them. Not only that, but I can use my bagpipes, I can use other people's dancing and music, etc. to bring to life a custom event for you. And then I give them it in a singular price package. And I'm not going to talk about what my pricing is here. I think you can imagine it's a premium pricing package. And it's just a straightforward one-off payment that would allow them to cover everything. Then I do all the faffing, the admin, the concierge service. I arrange things that is super nice for them and they don't need to worry about shit. And then get them to a location where I can perform for them and get my traditional storyteller to perform for them and then speak with them. And we can do different creative things like walks, like tailoring experiences, like embedded historical experience, which are tied to people that I know who are genuinely authentic in the culture. Because even when you pay lots of money, you get these luxury people who are all these, you know, they're these historians who know all their facts, you know. Hello, Summertime Dreams, how are you doing? I'm just filling people a little bit on the business right now. So if you've got lots of money, you can pay for the most wonderful castles, most wonderful views and private jets and all of the coolest things that you can imagine money can buy. Sure. You know, it's quaint, cue the soft, ambient fiddle music. You know what you can't access? You can't access the real grit, the real culture, the real gore and heart of what makes Scotland, Scotland. And that's what I have access to. That's what my friends are, and that's what I'm planning to set up. So I know people, namely James MacDonald Reid, Margaret Bennett, and the sad thing about these people is they're so frustrated with the world. We just got 10 people on YouTube, it's out of nowhere. What? How have we got 10 viewers? But don't mention music, you're struggling in this career. It's like all the work fields are overcrowded, man. Well, not for me, I make good money from music, but that's not enough because I want to try and save my culture. Why do you say the English oppress? Do you really think that? I didn't say the English oppress. I said English authorities have had a lot of power in this country for a long time, and that's just true. Like, that's the reality, and that's changed things a lot. That's changed our culture a lot, and it's done a lot of it's brought a lot of money into the country, but at the same time, it's made it much harder for people who are authentic, people who genuinely spread the culture, to be able to access avenues of publishing. So people I know who are the authentic singers, the authentic folklorists, the authentic bagpipers, they find it much harder to get stage with Creative Scotland, because Creative Scotland wants to fund people who are doing quirky modern stuff that brings in multiculturalism and woke stuff and technology and all of these. And basically, I'm just going to be completely frank, and it's not because I hate English people, but I'm going to tell you, they just hire lots of English people. That's what they do. Okay, they don't, if you look at the panel of the Scottish Arts Council. It used to be called the Scottish Arts Council, it's called Creative Scotland now. It used to be entirely English people, okay? Not a single person on that panel had a Scottish accent or even grew up in Scotland, okay? And now that's changed, it's a bit different, but still, if you look at most of the events that they're being funded by, lots of them are all English people, and most of them do not speak Gaelic. Look, I don't speak Gaelic. I'm not one of these authentic people, but there's a lot of people who do spread genuine, authentic culture, and they are being punished by the system. That's what I'm saying. Let me answer some questions. What's my opinions on Americans? I think they're fantastic. I mean, Americans, lots of them have Scottish ancestry, so they're basically like Scottish people who left home, took a massive risk, said, screw it, we're going to take on the world. They traversed the most difficult landscapes, and they literally built a new country that's like the American dream, which is kind of just like the Scottish dream, and made something awesome out of it. I think it's fantastic. And I think a lot of Scottish people definitely mock Americans, but I think it's something that comes partially out of jealousy, I would say. Say purple burglar alarm. Purple burglar alarm. There you go. There are both your ideas. He's in a restaurant, he can't hear me. No worries, Rossi, no worries. Okay, but I didn't talk about the next thing. So the number one thing is the event side of things. I want to connect people who can get access to authentic Scottish culture and do that through these small independent businesses. You're welcome, Damien. So I want to, basically, you've got all these little businesses around Scotland. They're pretty hard to find, pretty hard to access, especially if you're a foreigner coming to Scotland. I would just basically charge a flat payment for any tourists I meet who are interested. And whenever they're coming to Scotland, it means that we can just organise it last minute as well. Like, we can do it on the day, we can do it the day before. And I just call up a bunch of people, get them to a certain place. You know, if we have the budget, we can rent out a historical location. If we don't, we can always go to a castle or go to somewhere that's public, like a mountainous area or something along those lines. Or I could host them in the homes of one of these traditional bearers who I know, one of these folklorists, which is something I'm really excited to do because we could take them inside their space. I will tell you, these folklorists and these traditional people and the people running these businesses as well, they're often very, very private people, and they're very reluctant to put their trust out there. And it's taken years of me building trust with them that I can actually ask them to come and do these events for me. So I know for a fact, if these tourists, unfortunately, if they tried to reach directly to James McDonald's Reid, which, by the way, I really encourage you to do, you know, if you want something authentic, to reach out to him. I wish you luck, but unfortunately, the likelihood is they're not going to respond to you. Don't worry, Rossi, if you can't understand me. I'm going to speak to you on Instagram about my idea for you anyway, because I'm not really explaining that. That's something a bit more personal. Just to do with you being a pilot. I think it's just some opportunities for you. But yeah, look, I'll bring that stuff in. We can speak privately on Instagram later tonight or tomorrow or whatever. You enjoy your holiday, man. Can I carry a ski and do when I'm wearing my traditional clothes? Yes, but I don't have a ski and do. I got taken off of me at customs, so I don't carry a ski and do with me. So yeah, I thoroughly encourage you to try and reach out to the authentic tradition bearers and folklorists and singers and bagpipers and everything. I'm just telling you, the reality is most of them have a border up. They have a sort of shield up, and they don't let people access it very easily, and they don't like to put it on for tourists. But I can tell you that the people who do come through me and make a simple one-off payment for a premium customized event from me will have not only a fully arranged situation, but they will have access to people that would otherwise refuse to absolutely everything, because I'm able to walk up to them with the trust I built with them and offer them direct one-off payment for doing this event. Any questions about the first business? The first business is what I want to build up out. It's going to be a continuous structure and extension of what I do. Not a question, we have to say I have I have really pretty eyes. I just spat out there while I was speaking as well. Do I have pretty eyes? They're actually, this light makes them look cooler than they actually are, I think. They're not that interesting, normally. But they're so illuminated right now. So I'm setting up an organisation which makes it easier for tourists to access the authentic Scottish cultures, whether that be music, businesses or places. Yes. Neblin Nagome. I've never seen you here before, man. You're like totally welcome here. But you have summarised it perfectly in one little small paragraph. And I can't believe I just spent 10 minutes trying to explain what my business was. I'm setting up an organisation which makes it easier for tourists to access authentic Scottish culture, whether it be music, businesses or places. Yes! 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 Bang on! You completely understand me. That's a brilliant summary. Sometimes you're in Pembrokeshire, Wales, and you hear more English accents, but you do think the locals have lost their identity because they've lost their tribalism. I think you can lose your tribalism. I mean, I don't know what you think tribalism is, but my understanding of tribalism is people in groups sort of separating themselves off from each other. So tribalism is like Celtic and Rangers, and it is an example of tribalism where you have people that are Catholics and people who are Protestants and they dislike each other and they say bad things about each other and they group together and make rumours about the other side. That's tribalism. I don't think we need more tribalism in Scotland. I think we need less of it. But what we do need more is more of the authentic culture, which somebody like James MacDonald Reid has access to and someone like Margaret Bennett has access to. And we need to have much less of the bullshit Scottish culture, which is fakey stuff made up by trendies who are performing to whatever basically gets funding. And the fun thing is, I have money. That's the fun thing is, I have money, so I don't need funding. Okay, all these tradition bearers are trying to make a living from keeping their craft alive. I don't need that because I'm just getting a one-off payment from a tourist to tell you this is an authentic experience, right? No gimmicks, no flashy stuff, no electronics, no LEDs, no English people. There can be some English people, but not too many English people. and basically just do it on a straight person-to-person basis. It would be custom for each person. That's where I want to expand my events from the current bagpipe events that I do, which are, basically just me playing at funerals and weddings and things like that, to me doing custom events for people who are tourists in the country. Are sponsored by an org or do they pay you? Sponsored by an org? Do they pay me? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Sponsored? Are you asking, so you mean the folklorists and the tradition bearers, they're not sponsored by an organisation. I mean, they try and get funding from organisations, but they usually get refused, or they get a very small stages. Usually you'll find whoever has the big tech gimmicks and says, oh, we're all fancy and modern and we're pushing the limits and the boundaries of how we do this stuff. They're the people who get the big stage, and the people who are actually just a genuine, real guy who's speaking in Gaelic and wearing the traditional clothing and spreading the culture in the way that it's supposed to be spread. Those people are put onto the fringes, onto the small stage. They're giving gigs in primary schools. They're giving humiliating gigs with ridiculously small situations. And actually, in my opinion, a small situation is better if those customers are paying a higher amount. So what I will say is, James MacDonald Reid, you've been learning Scottish language is pretty cool. That's good stuff, Ranbone. Nice. Go and show some of your Scots language in the chat. But a lot of the most authentic people, they do small events for small numbers of people. And while their competitors are doing the big trendy stuff with all the technology and all the modern things, and they have thousands sometimes of people in their audience, and they charge £5 per ticket or something like that. I know people who hold a very small event and they'll charge maybe £50 or £100. And this is not my business, by the way. I'm just talking about what these tradition bearers do. So they have very small audiences, but those people are much more authentic. You know, they're much more committed to it. Do you personally want Scottish independence? Yeah, I think Scottish independence can be great if we have good leadership. Yaki da. Nice, we got some Welsh speaking coming in from Rose, England here. But just to be clear, before I talk about the second business, which I'm planning, which is going to be more of kind of a limited, occasional thing, in the short term, and then in the long term, it's going to be a more consistent thing. Just to say, I just want to defend, by the way, my perspective on English people. I want to be very clear. I do not hold a grudge against English people personally. We've got a lot of conflict in the past. So there's obviously a lot of tensions between the Scottish and the English. I don't hold a grudge against them at all. Hello, XIX Balba. How are you doing? Good to see a new person in here. Is toil lum coffee. I don't know how to pronounce that, man. I can't speak. I can't. That was that was so bad. Oh, that was so bad. I think that's Gaelic though, right? Doesn't look like Scots. That looks like Gaelic to me. I thought you were saying you were learning Scots, but you've been learning. You wrote Gaelic there, like that. Phrasing with the DH at the end is very Gaelic writing. You loved my video with Angela Rose. Thank you. Lots of people have seen that. Yeah, it's from Scotch Gaelic. Yeah. I thought you were saying Scots. So Scots is different to Gaelic. So you've got kind of two different things there you're playing with. Yeah. So basically, what I'm saying is I'm going to run this business as providing authentic events, and basically all I'm doing is I meet all these people who are tourists who travel the world, who come to Scotland, and they find it so hard to find the authentic culture. And I know the people who have the authentic culture and don't want it to show it to people because they're so angry at the world for punishing them. And all I'm going to do is just arrange an event where those curious tourists can meet the authentic people. That's the entire business, right? I'm just connecting those people. So the main structure for me comes in organization, in concierge, in providing adequate transport and comfort, locations, doing rentals, doing all the stuff that the traditional people don't want to do, and the tourists don't want to do as well, and putting them together, finding them, the people that they literally wouldn't be able to find. Is there any other questions about that? Anything else you want to learn? Fran Bone says you learned something new today. Nice. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad I could teach you something. Buckfast and Iron Brew. No. There'll be no Buckfast and no Iron Brew at any of my events. Unless we... Actually, you know what? I mean, maybe there would be. I mean, I could do something with that stuff. Do you think it sounds awesome? Yeah, sure. I think it's a great idea. It's basically what I do already. But I just want to expand it a little bit more and make it into a business rather than me just doing a random thing every now and then. Because I've done it before. I've actually got people to do events with these people before. And to be honest, Americans are very kind with their money. So Americans would come up to me and they'd like pay me. I don't know if I want to say numbers on here, but Americans want to offer a lot of money. Okay, so I had an American who said he had his budget was $40,000. So US dollars that's like £30,000. Okay, so he was offering $40,000, and at the time, I was so intimidated by that money, and I just thought, I don't think I can arrange something that's worthwhile. And I just said, look, offer me a fraction of that, and I can arrange something really cool with these people. And I just did that instead. And I think it's unnecessary for people to, even if you have that kind of money, it's unnecessary to spend something as much as 40,000 for an authentic experience. Obviously, unless, we're including things like that are more expensive, right? If we're renting out a castle for you and we're getting private jets for you and it's a 2-week long thing or something, maybe £40,000, those is reasonable. But generally, I want it to be premium package, not luxury. That's my target. So it's accessible to anybody really who's middle class should be able to access this. And most people who are paid to go to Scotland for an authentic experience should be able to experience it. Yeah, I mean, Crackathon just said private jets. look, I don't have any contacts to fly private jets. I may attain those or get that. I have one contact who flies helicopters, so they're probably more likely to be in a helicopter than a private jet, to be honest. I don't know anything about jets. I don't even know really where jets fly from. I don't know where the private airports are, so that's not my area of expertise. That's not something I plan to be a part of the business right now. That's just maybe something that would come along later. Let me see. What'd you write there? You and your family are Scottish Americans from the Isles, and you've been planning on going back for a while, so you might hit me up. You'll have to do a bit more research though. Yeah, I really recommend you do the research and you look into this stuff and look into Jamie. Jamie's the number one person I think you can reach out to. Yeah, look, I think all of these people, it's possible to find them yourself, and I can just give you their numbers straight out as well. Yeah, reach out to me, mate. Reach out to me, and we'll see what we can arrange something for you when you come to Scotland. And also, when it comes to tailoring, a lot of tourists, unfortunately, even very wealthy tourists, but even very wealthy tourists, they go to really poor quality kilt makers, and just maybe high quality, you know, in the sense of doing expensive stuff, but they're not doing it authentically. So I can probably give you I will be the only person who will give you an authentic guide to the actual shops, or one of the only people who will give you an actual guide to the tailors in Scotland, because oh my god, the tailors in Scotland are, so many of them, they're a real mixed bag, right? And every single one of them has defects pretty much, right? Because they're all missing something. And based on what you want out of your experience, I can explain to you what things... I'm not trying to charge you for this, by the way, but based on what you want out of your experience in Scotland, I can just tell you pretty approximately what tailors you want. It's just, I've had this conversation with a lot of people, and it's very customized to each person. So there's actually a lot of different options with tailors here, and based on what your transport preferences are, what types of clothing you want to purchase, the period that you want it to be for, types of events you want to go to, what your family's culture is like, all these things completely change who's best suited. Because as I say, they do all have defects. And I wouldn't lightly recommend you join on with any particular Scottish tailoring company. Yeah. Zerol said, I have something to confess. You've nothing Scottish to boast about. You'll try to learn Scottish with Gemini. You don't need to learn Scottish though to understand Scottish culture. A lot of like Gaelic speakers will tell you that you can't understand Scottish culture properly unless you speak Gaelic. And a lot of people say the same thing about the bagpipes. I don't speak Gaelic, and yet I play the bagpipes. I could play it to a much higher degree of quality if I did learn Gaelic, and I intend to learn Gaelic with that purpose in the future. How is the trekking scene in Scotland? The trekking scene? Do you just mean hiking? I'm not sure what you mean by trekking. If you are interested in potholing, which is basically when you go and you climb underground and you go through caves, I have contacts for that. If you're interested in climbing mountains, there's actually quite a few really good tour guides who can take you up mountains. So in Scotland we have 3 degrees of mountains. We have Munros, we have Corbetts, and we have oh shit, not Corbetts. What am I saying? Oh my god, I'm forgetting everything now. Anyway, this is why I'm not the expert. I'm getting you guys aligned with the experts. What's it? Munros. Let me. Anyway, so we have Munros are the big ones. Anyway, they're the ones that are the most interesting, to the highest ones, and the ones that are second in size, they will be much harder to walk up, much tougher paths, much more off-piste, if you like. Yeah, 3 tiers. Let me just Google it, because I've actually forgotten. There's kind of 3 tiers of mountains in Scotland. It's based on what their height is, and a lot of people try and climb them all. So Munros are the highest. They're very, very tall, and they're also very well established in terms of the paths are very well established. So lots of people go up them in rows all the time. Yeah, I was right. Monroe's, Corbett's. I don't know why I was doubting myself. Monroe's, Corbett's, and the next one down. I don't think I've ever done one of these, by the way. I've done like 10 Monroe's, I think. I've climbed about 10 Monroe's and maybe 3 or 4 Corbett's. But then the next one down is Graham's. So there you go. Yeah. There's quite a few good tour guides. There's some rubbish ones though. Actually, there's a lot of rubbish ones. There's a lot of rubbish tour guides. Most of them are decent. I mean, you can. I think, especially if you're an English speaker, you can pretty much tell if they're decent tour guides. If you're unsure, let me know. If you're unsure about what tour guides you want to deal with and what tour guides you don't, let me know. I know some who are like really funny. If you want a good laugh, there's this guy called Daniel, and Daniel's hired me to do bagpipe events for him before, and he always has this big dog. But he does mostly city tours. We does some Highland stuff as well. I know a bagpiper who does bagpipe tours where he plays bagpipes at the different locations, and he's pretty special. So if you want something like that, he's a pretty good shout. Sorry, let me just blow my nose because I'm a little bit blocked up right now. Okay, I'll be back in 1 minute. Okay, 1 minute, 1 minute. Don't leave. Don't leave. Okay. Oh, you didn't leave. Good. I'm glad you didn't leave. Yeah. So tour guides are great, but what's better, in my opinion, than a tour guide? What would I prefer if I was going to Scotland? If I'm going to a country, most of the time I don't want a tour guide. All right. I mean, it's nice. It's nice. It's really good to be able to get the actual facts and learn where this thing is and learn what the meaning of this mountain was and why this castle is here and have a list of all the dates. But you know who doesn't know all that information? The people who live there. The people who live there don't have a formulated timeline of the story of a castle, right? So what do the people who live there have that you don't have? Well, they know people like Jamie. They know people who are quite tight to themselves and private in the face of the world. Maybe not so much in the face of their community. But if I'm going somewhere like Morocco or Korea or any of these places and I want to go to the countryside, I know what I want is definitely not a tour guide. When I go up a mountain, I want an authentic local who has a stake in the culture, who is actively a member of that culture and that society, because he is going to give me an actual idea of the place. He's going to tell me what it's actually like. So if you want that, then that's a bit harder to come by. That's a little bit harder to come by. Okay, the Jamie guy, his full name is James MacDonald Reed. James space MacDonald space REID. You can Google him. You can look him up. His email might be online. If it's not, I can give it to you. Yeah, I can get you in contact with him. But just Google a couple of his things. He's you, you'll be interested. Put it that way, you'll be interested. You mean in this age of AI, you get at least 70% of the info right? 70%. Sure, yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing is, but you don't just want a normal. And then the thing is, if you ask a normal local, can you show me around? Can you do this? Can you do that for me? Even if they want to do it, normal people don't have, like most people, say you've got 50 people in a community, right? You've got a small group of houses, there's a bunch of families, some elderly people, some kids, and they all live together in a small area. There's 50 of them. Probably one person in that area is the only person you want to speak to. They're the valuable person in that community who actually has the most passed down information he can carry, right? So the reason I keep on bringing up Jamie, what Jamie did when he was 15 years old, is he travelled around the Highlands. Since he was a teenager, he's just started travelling around the Highlands, hitchhiking, staying in little huts, little cottages with thatched roofs. If you don't know, we don't make cottages with thatched roofs in Scotland anymore, okay? That's old time shit. He lived in these places with these old people and he learned their stories. But he didn't just learn their stories like historians do. He didn't just learn their stories like every academic ever who's asked him does. Because they all go, they point a microphone in their face and they say, "Oh, can you answer this question for me, please? And can you give me this 10-minute story for me, please? And can you, they have a structure and a formula in this category and things have to fit in this order and this way and these things have to follow that way and this is the folklore and this is the dance and this is the bagpipes and this is the tartans." That's how Americans say tartan. The tartans, and they're all separated out. And they fit into their nice little academic categories and their neat little, nicely organised society. Jamie doesn't do that bullshit, right? And neither does Margaret Bennett, neither does Stuart Little, neither do the people who actually hold on to the actual culture, because the reality is it's not one of these little categorized things. It's all mushed together. It's an amalgamation of all these things that are all tied together. You know what I'm saying? It's super, super rare that anybody gets even close to understanding that when they visit Scotland. In fact, a lot of people in Scotland, especially in the more metropolitan zones and medium-sized towns, places like Livingston, Dumfries, Aberdeen, it's very, very easy to live in these places and not access this at all. And not even really understand what's there. I meet Scottish people all the time who don't realise this. So, having access to somebody who did the opposite. He went and he stayed in a house of an old lady living under a thatched roof who's maintaining the folk culture and learns the culture in a lived way because he actually lives like her. He might have been there when can you imagine Jamie sitting there and some snobby academic comes up from Bristol, comes up from Oxford, let's say, and they go, "Oh, hello there. I'm a historian from Oxford, and I want to ask you some questions." Can you imagine Jamie sitting in the corner? He's going to be thinking, what's going on here? I'd like to ask you some questions. Bang! Microphone in your face. Electronic gimbals and gear and cameras and note-taking. And they're saying, "Oh, okay. Oh, can you sing the song for me? I'm going to make a recording." "Oh no, can you play it to the beat?" They don't realise the nuances of the way that the music is structured, so they try and fit it into their little thing with a metronome and a MIDI processor and all this sort of nonsense. And now that person spends, 3 hours interviewing the person. And then they get out of there. "Oh, goodbye. Thank you very much. So lovely seeing you. Oh, what a lovely day. Lovely to meet you. Okay, bye, Jamie. Bye. What's that guy doing over there? And they say goodbye and they leave. Jamie stays there. He lives there. He has to do everything that they had to do in their life. He has to fix their car for them. You know, he has to sit there and just listen to them spread their dribble for ages. And he has to live their culture. He wears the clothes. He tells the stories. He does the dance. Like, I've got a whole separate rant on how bullshit the Highland dancing you see literally anywhere in Scotland right now. It's crazy. It's nonsense. Especially on the dancing front. Jamie's one of the few people who can actually tell you the real story there. And unfortunately, it's a story of pretty much oppression in Jamie's case. He's been messed over by authorities who directly tried to stop him from spreading the authentic dance through his show Dramaben. Unfortunately, didn't do very well. Now, I'm very passionate about getting his message out there. It's a real shame that it's being suffocated. But I don't want it to be suffocated anymore. And I know a lot of Scottish people say to me, oh, don't do this, don't bother letting them have access to our homes and our culture. Why don't just let us keep it to ourselves? They're all idiots. They think all Americans are just dumb. You know what I mean? They just think all Americans are silly. They think all people from England and people from Australia who go, oh yes, I've got Scottish ancestry. They think they don't know what they're on about. I've met a lot of these people and I speak to them. I know these Americans are not dumb. All right, I've got Americans in my audience that are not dumb. And I know one day if they're going to visit Scotland, they're going to want the authentic culture. A lot of the people certainly who watch me are not going to want the tacky tourist guide with the factoids and the anglicized, categorized version of how things should be. They want the real story. They want the real culture as it was actually lived. And that's where people like Margaret come in. That's where their real songs and their real dance comes through. So, yeah. Yep. That's really important. I get that out there. And hopefully, maybe I can prove to the Scottish people as well. These Americans aren't dumbasses. Because they aren't. The Americans aren't dumbasses. These Americans are switched on a lot of the time. They're curious people. They're intelligent. The reason they've got more money from you is not just because they're lucky and live in America. Because they've actually built successful careers, which takes intelligence. And they're willing to apply that same intelligence to actually learning about Scotland when they go there and actually experiencing as it is. You'd enjoy just listening for a long time, learning about the Scottish culture, hearing stories from locals, everything? Yeah. I mean, that's great. That's great. But unfortunately, for most people who visit Scotland, that's not something they're able to experience. Most people who visit Scotland get to see the beautiful views. You can do that. By the way, if you want to see beautiful views in Scotland, all you need to do is rent a car and just drive around these really cool places. They're beautiful. They're stunning. You can't go wrong. All the tourists go to those places. There's going to be a lot of tourists there, but they're beautiful. It's right there. It's huge. It's awesome. There's cool castles. You'll love it. But when you want what you're talking about, which is actually to learn about the people that actually make that country what it is, it's really, really difficult for people to access that. We're saying, Vatersay, what are you writing there? Vatersay boys is all you need in America. Just listen to that, then you'll understand the traditional meets modern Scotland. Vatersay boys. Wait, what are you talking about? Vatersay boys? I don't know what that is. Vatersay boys. Oh, come on. Are you taking the piss? Let me show you. Let me show you what he's talking about. You think this is... Ah. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, do you want to go down the music side of things? Do you want me to talk about music and things? You have to go read down the subscribing. My goal seems like something you can really get behind with cultural preservation. Well, for that, best of luck. You're gonna continue learning Gaelic. Yeah, that's amazing, man. I should probably learn some. I should probably learn some Gaelic, to be honest. Not just connect you with the people who have the Gaelic. It's just a band. It's just a band to meet who mix folk music and everything. Sorry about this, guys. All right. Does anybody else want to ask about this business that I'm working on developing, the events, or there's, I don't want to call it business. Can we call it something better than that? This service, let's say. Does anybody else want to know anything more about the event service that I'm working on putting together? If you want to know more about the people that I'm working with, you want to know more about Margaret and Jamie, stuff like that, or the types of places we can go to, the musicians involved as well. The thing is as well, some of the people who are there's some amazing musicians in this country that are super, super young, you know? But then I've seen rich people going to Scotland and they pay all this money for a wonderful tour, and there's a bagpiper hired as a part of their golf tour often. So a bagpiper will come and play bagpipes for them while they're playing golf. And he's no good. He's not a high quality piper. And I'm looking at him and thinking, I know 16-year-olds who are better bagpipers than this guy. You know, it's just outrageous. It's outrageous. So I'd definitely like to give people access to that. I'm sick of them being access to the opposite. What's Zero right? I'm two. What, you're 16 years old and a great bagpiper? Okay, shall I talk about it? Shall I talk about the second one then? So the first one, authentic experiences for tourists that come to Scotland. Okay? It's my primary thing I'm working on. Basically just expanding what I already do for tourists into something a little bit more formulated, so that when somebody asks for it and they say, actually, you know what? I'm sick of this like fakey Scotland nonsense. I'm sick of this formalized, anglicized version of everything. I want the real deal. When somebody says that, I can have full packages to offer them, and they can customize what add-ons and what type of experience and what location they want. So I'm just formalizing what I want to do. That's that business, okay? Second business, clothing. Clothing is a big issue in Scotland, but I don't want to focus on Scottish clothing. So that's why this is kind of separate. It is, I say it's not Scottish, it is Scottish, okay? It is Scottish because I've said a lot, musicians a lot to you too. Okay, you're a musician, good for you. So when I say it's not Scottish, it will be Scottish because everybody I work with as of now is Scottish. And in the long term, I would love to build this out into something that's established and reliable. As of now, this is going to be one-offs. It'll be like limited events. So they're both kind of events. The difference is, you know, one of them is an event that you experience when you come and visit, and one of them is an event that you can experience from any place in the world. Because we have had a degeneration of our clothing, unfortunately, in society. Look at me right now. Look, this is synthetics. This is a quality work jacket, but it's synthetics. And actually, I haven't bought an item of clothing. What have I bought in the last year? The only clothing I bought in the last year is socks and this one shirt that I wear literally all the time. Oh. I'm not even wearing it. This is a second-hand shirt. It's a hand-me-down. And then a one shirt that I wear all the time. And then my bagpipe outfit. Other than that, like, all these clothes and stuff I've had since I was a kid. But anyway, so I want to kind of regenerate clothing that promotes a sense of Western excellence that's really lacking in the world. So that people can connect to something that's traditional, again, prioritizing authenticity, but more authenticity through adaptability. Something which is available to all people who are in all parts of the world. So it wouldn't be specifically Scottish. It's sort of a mix of Scottish tweed materials, Scottish fabric designs, and Scottish textures, along with English style tailoring, because I'm sorry, but English tailoring is the best in the world, okay? Hello, Stan, how you doing? English tailoring is the best in the world. The English drape is the best cut of suits in the world. Americans, Italians, whoever, you don't come close. You don't. I'm not even going to apologise, I'm just going to tell you that's the way that it is. Mixed with other European techniques. There's a few, I want to implement French looming techniques. And then also French looming techniques. What other else was I gonna have? Okay, my mind's blown. Anyway, Scotland, England, France. There you go. Hang on a minute. Just give me a second. Let's see. Oh, the lighting's so much worse here. Okay, I'll just continue this for another maybe 30 minutes. We'll just go through the clothing stuff. Basically, I want to do one-off limited events of clothing that mixes in different elements of what makes not just Scottish clothing, but Western clothing so great in kind of limited events. Limited one-offs. And that's something that I'm going to target to my whole audience. I'll try and introduce the TikTok people and the Instagram people to that as well. Unfortunately, the people who go on those places are not so smart. You guys on YouTube, you're pretty intelligent, right? We've got a pretty smart viewer base on YouTube here. People, they write full sentences and they're engaged and their brains are switched on. They understand all the stuff that's being said. People on TikTok and Instagram are not like that because they're engaged in such a shallow way. It's just a quick flash, bang, information, come, information, go. Like this ape up here behind me, information come, information go, and that's it. So it's just very different, but yeah, when I was doing this, I was thinking maybe I should only give the YouTube people access to this, or maybe just create a community of a really select amount of people who can access clothing. But the idea is I would get a bunch of different authentic independent businesses who are making clothing in Scotland, which I know a number of, to make these items. So I orchestrate the organization, I get it all created, I then assemble it and package it in a warehouse, and I ship it out to you guys as a limited event. So if you want to know how I do that, well, there's 3 main steps to the process of making these clothes before it gets to me. The first step, the wool. Now the wool is processed by, what are they called? Johnston's of Elgin is possibly how I'd source them from, but there's a few different people who process wool. Anyway, so I process wool. It's an authentic Scottish business. Then I take that wool and I give that wool to somebody like Lovett's in Hoyk, which is a traditional company who make tweed specifically into fabrics. So they're actually looming the fabrics. So there's the first step is getting the materials, making those into a fabric, and then having the fabric cut and sewed and made into different things. And I also have connections to a number of businesses who make traditional Highland wear, so kilts, etc. So what I want to do is try and figure out which ones I want to do first. But all these companies, they're making really, really fascinating, cool things, which is great for the people who live in the towns, in the small towns that these companies are. But no tourist ever goes to Castle Douglas. They don't go there. So it's pretty hard for them to access that type of a community and those types of groups. So what I want to do is offer them so that people in my audience and people generally who are part of this can access and support these independent businesses. And I can use my perspective, which is specifically aligning this with the sense of Western excellence and really people who do incredible things in society. I can connect all these independent clothes makers together in order to produce a product that symbolizes that and tells that story. Because the people who are really pushing the boundaries of society now, they're not stuck behind t-shirts and plastic trainers anymore. They're not in that environment. They're not part of that. They're not promoting that. They are fully focused on bringing back what actually makes their societies and their continent great. It's the same thing in China. It's the same thing in America. It's the same thing in Australia. Everybody's looking to their ancestry. They're saying, who are we historically? What makes us great historically? Now, I can connect with these local businesses in Scotland and essentially present products from them to the world that provides an answer to that. It says, this is who we are historically. This is what is so great about us historically, and bring that to the forefront, which I'm pretty excited to do. I mean, maybe I should make 2 separate accounts? I need one account for bullying people for being inauthentic, and one account where I'm just lovely. Yeah. One account where I can bully all the scumbags. Fight the battle, put them in their place. And one account where I just talk about how wonderful everything is. How does that sound? Yeah, today I was visiting this company who makes bespoke tailored suits very, very locally to me. They're, I cycle right away from me. I can literally cycle to their shop. And I was speaking to them for an hour and 45 minutes this morning, just standing up in their bespoke tailoring shop, speaking to them today. They're struggling so much, and it's the same stories I hear everywhere, all over the country. And they're telling me about the stories of all of these different businesses that they work with everywhere. Passionate guy, what's good in local food? Local food in Scotland. So the main things we are best known for, that I love about Scottish food the most, is really high quality ingredients. So our beef is incredible. Our lamb is incredible. And we have lots of great seafood. I would really recommend, especially in the seafood front, if you're in Scotland, to have scallops. Scallops are fantastic here, and they're fished right where I'm right now. In the harbour, in the town I'm in right now, all these scallops are fished to this town. So the best, if you're interested in like cuisine, the best high-end restaurants in this country that have the best international ratings are all pretty much seafood restaurants most of the time. So I really recommend you look into some of the, if you're interested in proper high-end cuisine, gastronomy, experiences, stuff like that, seafood is what I'd really recommend. The average person in Scotland, like a normal person, which is obviously somebody who doesn't have very much money, they eat really pretty bad quality foods. This is something like when I went to somewhere like Korea, for example. In Korea, the average poor person actually eats really high quality healthy food. Unfortunately, that's not true of this country. Unfortunately, I think it mostly comes from the early industrialization of this country. So not only being poor, but being poor in industrialization means we were all eating just loads of potatoes and bread, just processed guff when that came out. Really not high quality things. So the average person in this country that's not very well off does not eat very well. So if you want the authentic normal person foods, I would say don't bother. The traditional stuff, like the countryside foods, that's not so common in working class families, but can be found in middle class families, is what we call meat and two veg, which is a pretty simple staple, but it's very, very tasty. I love it. It's my favorite type of food. You could show me all the Michelin stars in the world, and there's not a single Michelin star I would choose over my grandmother's cooking. All right, I just wouldn't choose any of them. Okay, my grandmother's cooking comes before any Michelin star restaurant you can take me in Italy or Japan or wherever. I don't care. My grandmother's cooking comes first, and it is meat and two veg. It's wonderful meat and wonderful vegetables, a great sauce, and just tastefully executed cooking. Nothing's going to come before that for me. So it does depend what you're into in terms of gastronomy, right? Neeps and tatties. So a lot of people do something pretty dumb when they come to Scotland. All right, they do something dumb. They go on their computer. They go, "What's the national food of Scotland? You know, what's the national dish here?" And they go, "Oh, haggis. Oh, I'll eat haggis then. Haggis and neeps and tatties. That's the national dish of Scotland. I'm gonna go and eat haggis, neeps and tatties." And every tourist does that. And it's kind of nonsense. Haggis, neeps and tatties. I'm sorry. I love haggis. You guys love haggis. We all love haggis. Haggis, neeps and tatties is just like turkey. All right? Americans don't eat turkey every day. In fact, they barely ever eat turkey. They only eat turkey on Thanksgiving. Scottish people very, very, very rarely eat haggis. When do they eat haggis? They eat haggis on Burns Day. Okay? And outside of Burns Day, which is the 25th of January, if you don't know, we don't really eat haggis very often. You never tried haggis? It's nice. I like it. It's not for a lot of people. If you want to look at where it comes from historically, it was eaten by poor people in Ayrshire, which is an area near to me. It's the area that Robert Burns was originally from. So after Robert Burns died, a lot of people said, well, how can we commemorate him? Well, seeing as he was a middle class poet, but he wrote for the working people. So they say, okay, let's find a food that represents the working class people in Ayrshire who Robert Burns was writing about in his poetry. And that's why they chose haggis, because working class people were eating sheep lungs mixed with beef fat, mixed with all of these strange things together, mixed with oats, beef fat, beef beef liver, sheep lungs, all of these things mixed together in what is essentially like a lamb and beef type sausage. But it's not a sausage, because sausages are made from pork, and this is made from lamb. It's very good, in my opinion. It's not for everybody, though. I will say as well, a lot of people think food in the UK doesn't have spices. I'm not sure exactly where that rumor came from. I think it's just a joke because we traded spices for a long time. But haggis is very spicy. It has got quite strong seasoning. So people who struggle with or dislike strong seasoning in foods often dislike haggis for that reason. I'll just warn you that. It's silly, I know, because people expect Scottish food. It's just going to be very, very plain and very, very bland. So if you dislike it, it might be not for that reason. It might be for the opposite reason. You can't handle spice too well. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's not spicy like an Indian food is, right? It's spicy like I don't know what to compare it to. It's not like, it doesn't burn your throat. It's like strong. What has it got? What's haggis? Is it like nutmeg, cardamom, cloves, pepper, stuff like that, I think. Lamb is delicious always. Yeah, I love lamb. Well, I was talking about my grand's cooking. When I'm talking about my grand's cooking, yeah. One of the things about what my gran does, my favorite, I would say probably my absolute favorite meal she makes is the lamb she makes, the minted lamb she makes. She does this lovely, she roasts potatoes in this lovely big oven sauce. And then she does the lamb. She like cuts all these holes in the lamb. I don't know if you guys do this, and none of the Americans probably do this as well. But she cuts all these big holes in the lamb, and she puts the garlic in the holes, and the garlic juice just kind of oozes through it, and then she cooks it for like 6 hours in the oven. So the lamb is super, super, super soft. And you know what lamb's like, because it's so marbled. It's got all this fat through it, unlike most beef. It's got so much fat through it that it stays really moist, even when it's cooked really slowly for a long time. And oh wow, the fat just goes all the way through it, and the garlic goes all the way through it, and her sauce is just, oh yeah. Yeah, my grand's cooking is something special. If I can marry a lady who makes food that's half as good as my grand's cooking, yeah, tender lamb, especially tender Scottish lamb. Tender Scottish lamb. Because if you look at where lambs are brought up in other countries, if you look at where lamb is brought up in America, America's a beautiful country, don't get me wrong. But the places where lambs are brought up there is pretty miserable. Look at where the lambs are brought up here. It's beautiful big open fields. Lambs are bouncing about these fields energetically. By the way, it's lambing season right now in Scotland. If you want to see lambs in Scotland, you come in March, April time. Actually, March. Come in March. And they're just like these little balls of fluff that bounce around the fields. They're so wonderful. They're so much fun. And it's kind of, as a meat eater, right, you kind of go a little bit, oh no. I'm eating these poor little adorable little animals because they're so happy and so cheery and so pleasant. You'd be tempted to pet one. Yeah, maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you don't want to pet them. It might get the farmers a little bit angry. They're going to be protective over their lovely little lambs. But we do have a right to roam in Scotland, so you are allowed to walk through fields freely in Scotland. That's one of the best things about this country. So you can literally walk anywhere you like to. But at the same time, the only reason we can have that is because we don't have disrespectful people who just mess up the landscape, right? People are very respectful about the environment. We always leave no trace. If you have a fire, you always cover it up. You stay away from people's houses and you respect their land, you respect their trees, you respect their animals. If you don't do that, then you're going to be in pretty serious trouble. How are you doing? Yeah, I'm visiting family right now. I'm going to be back up in the city tomorrow. Be back in Edinburgh again. Honestly, with this event stuff, maybe I should just start renting there again. Because that might be the most sensible option for me. I like the freedom of not being locked into one place. But I should probably start, renting a place again. There's actually I could probably stay. Well, there's actually a tenant in my flat right now. There's somebody staying in my flat right now, renting it out. So I don't know when he's gonna leave, and I don't want to kick him out. So I think I'm gonna stay there. Okay, we've got 5 minutes. We've got 5 minutes. It's been lovely, by the way, getting to speak to you here. We've got 5 minutes here, and then tomorrow I'm going to be playing bagpipes, speaking to tourists, playing in Edinburgh, and then I've got a meeting with Scotty tomorrow night. So I won't be able to stream when I'm meeting Scotty. And Scotty is the man who is organising my road trip, going from England through to Morocco. Yeah, does anybody want to know anything more about Livingston? So the three businesses I'm going to be working with, well, four businesses. So there's Jeffrey Taylor and Kilt Maker, who makes traditional clothing, Highland wear, and William Scott and Son make the sporrans for them. There is Hector Russell, who are the best in my opinion for kilts, just because of the way that they cut things and the way that they sew the pleats. I'm going to be working with Livingston to do bespoke clothing, suits, events. I'm going to source tweed fabrics from Lovitz in Hoyk. And I'm also going to try and get quality materials from the likes of Johnson's of Algan, etc. So I'm working with a lot of independent businesses, and hopefully I'll be able to get more attention to those businesses from what I'm doing. You know, so people can source anything that I create with them, but also they can access those anytime that they wish to do so. Anybody want to find out anything more about that or about the event side of things? Anybody been to Scotland or curious about what it's like to go to Scotland? Any questions like that? I need to make a couple phone calls in 3 minutes. Yeah, nice. Well, look, it's been wonderful seeing you all here. I've really enjoyed speaking to you. Zerol, if that's how I say your name, Zerol, Errol, or is just X, Errol. Anyway, super nice to have you on here. I've enjoyed your contributions. Summertime Dreams. Come on, you're like Summertime Dreams. It's always a pleasure. It's been really nice having both of you on, and you always contribute a lot. No, but your mum and aunt are going to be visiting Scotland in October for their birthday. They share the same birthday. Wow, that's wonderful. What are they going to Scotland for? Why Scotland? I'm curious actually. You've been once to Scotland, Damien has? Wow, your name is Garvin? Yeah. Yeah, hang on. Tell me why your family went to Scotland. You went to Glasgow. Went from Glasgow to Aberdeen on the train. Interesting. So you went to the rough parts of Scotland. But rough but cultural, I suppose. If you are into the dancing and stuff like that, then to go hiking. Hmm. Nice, yeah. You know what my favorite walk in Scotland is the West Highland Way, if you've heard of that. So you've got a lot of they love hiking together. Are they doing like mountain hiking or are they doing like a long route? So obviously there's hundreds of wonderful mountains that I'm never gonna be able to go on all of them in my life. But there's hundreds of wonderful mountains in Scotland. And the other thing is the West Highland Way, which is a route that's just incredible. The West Highland Way is so incredible because you get taken from all these different biomes that are so different. So you start off in Mulgai, which is just north of Glasgow, and you start walking up along Loch Lomond. You pass Ben Lomond, incredible views, dark forest, damp, deep, rich environments. And then you go up into the Highlands. And next thing you know, you're walking across Rannoch Moor. You go across Rannoch Moor, which is a beautiful, expansive moor. It's very famous. There's been lots of films like Trainspotting, etc. And then into this deep valley. And little do you know, you look around you, what valley are you in? You're in Glencoe. And for those who don't know Glencoe, for one thing, I'm sorry you don't know Glencoe, but Glencoe is just absolutely stunning. It's one of the most impactful places, and so many people I know who live in Scotland genuinely say Glencoe is their favourite place in the world. It's just, if you're willing to take a breath and just embrace it, it's so impactful, and it really just hits you. And then you go up from Glencoe, and you go up the Devil's Staircase, and you go down into Kinloch something, into this little town, and you make your way into Fort William. So there you go, you make your way to one of the biggest towns in the Highlands, all the way from being in Glasgow, right, the cultural capital of the Lowlands, into being one of the largest towns in the Highlands. And you transition from these beautiful, damp, dark woodlands into these big, open, expansive, windy, impressive hills of the Highlands. It's an incredible walk. I love the West Highland Way. If you couldn't tell. I actually don't know any tour guides who do the West Highland Way as a tour. I suppose because the thing is, it's like a 4-day walk. It's quite a trek. I do know people who can carry your bags if you're doing it. But obviously if you're doing mountain hiking, you don't need that because you just stay in a hotel, you leave your clothes in the hotel and you just carry a small bag with you up the mountain. If you're doing a 3-4 day walk like the West Highland Way, you might want someone to carry your bags. It's a service a lot of people I know take. Lots of people are very confident walkers, but they just don't want to carry a ridiculous big bag that's going to ruin their experience all the time. So you can get somebody to carry the bag for you. Damien Gervin said he's very interested in Scotland and Scottish things. You're from Northern Ireland, maybe because of your last name. Gervin. Is that Northern Irish? But, yeah, Gervin. Okay. Alright. But yeah, Gervin's a town near me. Garvin. This is funny, people I know from Stranraer, which is sort of near to Gervin. People in Stranraer speak in an accent that's much more similar to Northern Irish than it is. Like, it's sort of between Northern Irish and Scottish. You'll know what I mean if you hear it. And I know this guy from Stranraer, who was my teacher in school. He's called Mr. McGarry. Mr. Larry McGarry. And, here you go, Shabber. My name's Mr. McGarry. Here we go. I'm going to Garvin. Garvin. I'm from Garvin. I used to teach at Garvin for a long time. My name's Mr. McGarry. Shamfer. Shamfer. He was a legend. I love Mr. McGarry was hilarious, man. I want to meet, if I can get Mr. McGarry on a stream, that would be so hilarious and iconic. You'd like to visit Scotland one day, just separately from them, lol. Your name is named after the town. Oh, you're named after Garvin in Scotland. Oh, okay. Fair enough, man. Well, look, I do have to say goodbye because I've got lots to do now. But I want to say a thank you to all of you. And like, that's not a shallow thank you, that's a sincere thank you. Because most of my day, I'm dealing with people that I've accessed through TikTok and Instagram. And sometimes the YouTube Shorts front as well. And their engagement is so shallow. And you guys, that's how you sound. No way, I did not impersonate you. Come on. That was a Stranraer accent. But seriously, guys, I'm not going to bed. I've got work to do. Although I'm tired, I've got work to do. Really wonderful speaking to you. I can't emphasize enough how important it is that we have this little community here. You might think, oh, there's only 7 people on a live stream. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if there's only one person on the live stream, because we're having a valuable 1-to-1 or a valuable 1-to-7, and I'm able to share to you what my culture is actually like, because everybody's gonna just give you so much bullshit about what it's actually like. I can give you what it's actually like, get you access to those people, and show you the bagpipes, show you my lifestyle and my culture. Yeah, I'm gonna try and give you some more vlogs in the coming months, and I want to target stuff to like, literally, I think there's 4 people writing in the chat right now, maybe 5 at best. I honestly, at this point, I don't care about any, I don't really care about the rest of the audience. So whatever you guys want to see, hit me up about it when we're, maybe today, but just hit up whenever in the live stream if you think of stuff. Anything that you want to see with vlogs or stuff in Scotland or things you're really curious about in Scotland, just tell me. That's the stuff I want to show, right? People that actually want to take action, that actually want to experience the authentic stuff, they're the only people that I really care about, okay? So if you're one of those people, and I think most of you guys who've been writing this chat today are those people, have a think about what types of things you want to see. I'm going to make some vlogs in Scotland. I'm going to show you the countryside. I'm going to go and see some things for the first time that I've not really experienced and I don't really know about in this country, and take you along on that journey. All right. Anything else? I think that's about it. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming on, and I'm sincere about that.